Hello, my beautiful students. Hope you're all doing well, staying safe, and having a great time. We reached the final chapter of this book, and in this chapter, we will try to talk about motion. So, let's start. In order to know more about motion, we need to learn about position. Position is an object's location, or you can say an object's place. Everything around you has its own position, own location. And even you in the school, you have a certain place that you sit on every day. So that is your location or your place. And of course, everyone knows your location or your place. If an object's position is changing, that object probably is in motion. Now, in order to learn more about motion, we need to learn about frame of reference. What is frame of reference? The things around you that you can sense and use to describe a motion. So let's take the car that you are seeing in front of you as an example. The car is in motion, right? So the road, everything in the background of that car is the frame of reference. So the frame of reference, in another word, is enabling you to see the object in motion, since the frame of reference is not moving. We have objects that is in motion, obviously, and they have several frames of reference. Suppose that you are sitting in a chair reading a book. To a person that reading a book, the book is not moving. But if the person is reading a book on the train, any person that's standing outside and sees this train, obviously sees the book in motion. So the book is moving for anyone who looking at it from outside the train. Now let's suppose that a third person is on a train and going in the opposite direction. The person sees the book from yet another frame of reference. The motion of any object depends on your motion when you are looking at that object. Speed. So what is a speed? Speed is the measure of a distance an object move in amount of time, in a certain amount of time. A speed is a measure of a distance an object move in a given amount of time. So a distance an object move in a certain amount of time is called speed. We could use speed to describe the motion of an object. Let's say that you're kicking a ball and the ball is actually moving 3 meters in every 1 second. So its speed basically 3 meters per second. We also have average speed. You know that things around you, when they are in motion, they don't have a constant speed. They are not moving in the same speed all the time. For example, the amount of time that we will measure the speed of the ball is 5 seconds. In this 5 seconds, the ball speeds will probably vary. The ball starts fast, then probably it will slow down. This is average speed. The average speed is the total distance an object moves divided by the total amount of time. So if the ball rolls 10 meters in 5 seconds, the average speed will be calculated as the following. We will divide the 10 meter by 5 seconds and your result will be 2 meters per second. Let's say we have two cars. These cars are moving in the same speed, 300 kilometers per hour, but their direction is different. One is going to east, the other one is going to west. Let me remind you, they are going in the same speed, but their motions are different. So when you describe motion in terms of speed, you must determine the direction of the speed. So the speed in a given direction is called velocity. So remember, velocity is the speed in a given direction. Acceleration. So what is acceleration? Acceleration is the change in the speed or direction in a certain amount of time. So any change happens, for example, let's say when an object starts, stops, speeds up, slow down, turn left or right, and change its value of speed or direction, we call this acceleration. Let's say you are riding a bicycle. Of course, you're going to start pedaling. Or we can say you accelerate. You're still on your bike and you are going down a hill. So what happens is when you speed up going down a hill, you accelerate. What if another thing happened? You went up to the hill. Well, you slow down. Or we can say you decelerate. Let's say that your mom will call you and you will have to make a return and go back home. What will happen? You will change direction. This is also acceleration because you change direction. And finally, you reach home and you stop. So when your bike is stopping, you also accelerate because your speed is changing. You are stopping, so your speed is changing again. Remember, the only time you are not accelerating is when you are riding in a straight line at constant speed. In a straight line and constant speed, you are not accelerating. If you stop, you are accelerating. If you speed up, slow down, turn left, change direction, to right or left, you are actually accelerating. The only time you are not accelerating is when you are riding your bicycle on a straight line at a constant speed. Then we don't call this acceleration. What is momentum? Momentum is the measure of how hard it is to slow down or stop an object. So momentum is the product of object velocity and mass. What was the velocity once again? The velocity was the speed in a given direction. So it is basically the product of objects' mass and speed in a given direction. Yes, momentum is the product of object's velocity and its mass. What is the momentum of two objects? These two objects have the same velocity, but one of them has a greater mass. So the one that has the greater mass has more momentum. The one with a greater mass has more momentum. Remember, if these two objects, they have the same velocity, the same speed in a given direction, but one of them is a bus, the other one is a small bike. So the one with the greater mass, which is the bus, has more momentum. As you can see in the case of the small bike, the small mass, smaller momentum, and the car, the large mass, larger momentum. Now, if I asked you, could you stop the bike more easily or the car? What would be your answer? Obviously, the car will be much harder to stop because the car has larger mass, it has larger momentum, so it is harder for us to stop it. This time we have two cars. These cars have the same mass, but their velocity is different. So if two objects have the same mass, but the one with the greater velocity has more momentum, so the one that has greater velocity, it has more momentum. Now I'll ask one of you to kick a ball with its feet, and the other one to throw the ball with their hand. Which one of these balls will be harder to stop? A football thrown by hand or a football kicked by an attack player? The kicked football would be harder to stop because of its greater velocity. The greater velocity of an object, the greater its momentum. Let's talk about the picture of the marbles. Whenever you play with a marble, the marble that is in your hand, let's say it is the moving marble, and you have arranged a row of marble that is not moving. So whenever the marble in your hand will start to move and hit the non-moving marbles, what happens is the moving marble will stop and the non-moving marbles will start to move. What happens in this case is that the momentum was transferred from moving marble to unmoving marbles. So when an object applies force on another object, the momentum of both objects stays the same and does not change. Scientists call this conservation of momentum. Conservation of momentum. If I asked you why the marble that was in your hand and was moving stopped eventually, it stopped because the momentum was transferred to the second marble, the marble that the moving marble hit. Newton's law of motion. So, who was Newton? I'm pretty sure you have heard this name before. Sir Isaac Newton was born in England in 1642. He had a new idea. His idea was about force and motion. Now, before him, we had another great Greek philosopher. His name was Aristotle, and he basically described the four elements: earth, air, water, and fire. And he believed that everything was made of one or more of these elements. And it seems very reasonable for Aristotle to believe that objects would try to move toward object that is made of the same element. For example, in the case of a smoke, he believed that smoke belongs to air. So naturally, smoke will rise and rejoin the air once again, since it belongs to it. Going back to Newton in the age of 23, he developed 3 laws of motion. We are still using those laws, by the way. These laws were the first to describe the movement of object in terms of force. For example, Newton didn't believe that the apples will fall down from the tree to the ground because the tree and the ground is made from the same element. He said that there is a force, gravitation, that causes earth and the apple to attract each other, and he was right. The law of motion described the movement of objects on earth. Before Newton, scientists imagined that any moving object would stop moving unless something continued to push it. But Newton, he realized that moving object would continue to move in a straight line until a force interfered with it. So, he made the first law of motion. The first law of motion says that an object at rest will remain at rest, and an object in motion will continue moving in a straight line at a constant speed until an outside force acts on it. Again, an object at rest will remain at rest, so the object that is not moving will not move. What about the object that is moving, that is in motion, will continue moving in a straight line at constant speed. Its speed will not change until an outside force acts on it. According to this, a ball rolling down a sidewalk stopped because of a force. This force is called friction that acts on it. What about in space? You know, in space, there is a very little friction. So, a spacecraft will continue moving at the same speed and the same direction practically forever. Its motion will not change only if force from nearby star or planet act on it. The second part of this law says the object in rest remain at rest. This is easy to see. If you place a ball on a flat ground, the ball will not move unless you push the ball or try to tilt the surface. The last part of this law says an object in motion will continue moving in a straight line at constant speed unless an outside force acts on it. Now, the property of matter that keeps it moving in a straight line or keep it at rest is called inertia. Inertia is the property of matter that keeps it moving in a straight line or keeps it at rest. You can see in front of you that the worker in a restaurant pull the tablecloth from the under the table sitting, and the items remain on the table. Amazing. How does this trick works? The worker pulls the tablecloth quickly enough. The inertia of the object on the table keeps them in place. If the objects are heavy, it is easier to pull, as you can see in the case of the student. If you didn't pull it very fast, you will do as the girl in the upper part did, so it will be a disaster. So remember, if your objects are heavier, it will be much easier to pull the tablecloth off, because the amount of inertia in an object is related to its mass. The greater the mass, the greater the object's inertia. What is the first law of motion? The answer is an object at rest will remain at rest, and an object in motion will continue moving in a straight line at a constant speed until an outside force acts on it. Moving on to the second law of motion. The second law of motion is all about acceleration. So the second law of motion says the amount of acceleration depends on the size of the force and on the mass of an object. So, according to the second law of motion, an object acceleration depends on the size and direction of the force acting on it, and on the mass of an object. So the size, the direction of the force, and also the mass of the object. So let's talk about the first part, the size of the force. If I ask you which one will cause more acceleration, a large amount of force or a small amount of force? Of course, a larger amount of force will cause more acceleration. For example, a tennis player, if she or he hits harder, the tennis ball will go faster. So the harder the tennis player hits the ball, the more the ball's motion will change and the faster the ball will go. The second law of motion explains why car drivers put most powerful engine in their car, because powerful engine provides more force. It causes greater acceleration, so the car will go faster. Let's move to the second part of the second law of motion, which is the direction of the force. We said that an object's acceleration depends on the size of a force, and we talked about it, and the direction of the force. So let's talk about the direction of the force. Any force, any kind of force you pick that could possibly act on an object could change its speed, right? An object's speed. So it could slow it down, stop it, speed it up, or change direction. You can easily see this in a match, a football match. Whenever the player hits the ball speeds up. Then it could be catched by the goalkeeper and the ball will stop. Or the goalkeeper could change its direction and another player could hit it and make the ball move faster. So the last part of the second law of motion says it also depends on the mass of an object. The mass of the object, as you can see in front of you, a force has more effect on an object with less mass than it has on an object with more mass. For example, if I told you push a bicycle, it will be much easier for you than if I told you to push a car. The car has a lot of mass, so it would be harder for you to push with your force. But a bicycle has less mass. So usually an object with less mass accelerate faster. The third law of motion. This law basically talks about action and reaction. It basically says force always occurs in pairs. So whenever an object, for example you, exert a force on a second object, a ball for example, the second object also exert a force on the first object. So the ball also affect you, exert force on you. This is the third law of motion. The third law of motion says for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. Or we can say for every action, force, there is an equal and opposite reaction. The first force is action. The force that push or pull back is the reaction. So the first force is always the action force, and the force that push or pulls back is the reaction force. We can actually see the third law in many situations. We can feel it. So whenever you are running, your push hits the ground, right? And the ground pushes back against your feet. Now imagine if the ground didn't push back against your feet, you wouldn't go anywhere. The third law of motion is very important in space travel. How? You know, whenever they launch a rocket into the space, the engine pushes burning gas out from the back of the rocket. These gases actually provide a force that moves the rocket forward. The rocket provides the force to send the gases backward. These two forces are equal in size and opposite in direction. So we reached the end of this lesson. Thank you for your attention, and your homework will be the chapter review in page 286. Good luck everyone, and have a great time. Stay home and stay safe.